First pitch, the first meeting of the season officially again with the Brewers and the Cardinals. Last night, washed away. Colby Rasmus home run does not count after the Cardinals had jumped out to a 2-0 lead. The Domino's first pitch is swung on and fouled back for strike one. A lot of those mechanics concern his release point with the baseball.
Well, he felt like he was throwing a little bit too much overhand and wants to drop down his arm angle about 3 more inches to the side, and that will give you a little more life on that fastball.
Even though he feels he struggled, the Cardinals are 5-2 when he takes to the mound. Last time against the Reds on Sunday, his last outing, 6 innings, 4 runs on 7 hits. He still was in line to get the win until the Cardinals bullpen lost the lead in the 9th. 2 balls and 1 strike. And Wainwright has not even been averaging 6 innings per start.
No, and that's something when Waino is himself, you could always pencil in about 7 innings for him of dominant baseball. One of the things, too, is they feel he's gotten away from his fastball.
62 degrees here in St. Louis. Ricky Weeks a swing and a miss. And how about the leadoff man's numbers? 9 home runs and 24 RBIs in the top spot from the lineup.
Ricky's always had good power, and he's an offensive player. He's at times has struggled defensively, but you can put a ball out over the plate, he can crush it. And he leads his team in home runs, the team that leads the National League in home runs.
This is hit out to center field. Colby Rasmus is there and puts it away for the out. Let's take a look at the delivery for Adam Wainwright.
Remember, he thought he was throwing the ball more directly overhand, and a lot of times that helps a hitter. You see it a lot more. You're trying to drop down a little bit and throw a little more 3/4. And when you saw how he's finishing off, that is so important to get life on your pitches. Not only on your breaking ball, but on your fastball to finish it off and with that follow through and really throw the ball through the catcher.
Bill Hall is in this lineup today, and Craig Counsell is out. Counsell is in the second spot in the lineup last night, as he was 8 for 16 against Loge at the start of play. Then he singled to make it 9-17, but not in there today, so Hardy moves up. Hardy with 5 home runs, 19 RBIs, hitting .224. You talk about the young players, 27 years of age or younger for the Milwaukee Brewers, the core of this lineup.
And they've been together now for 3 or 4 years.
Little tapper to short. Tyler Green with it and makes the play. 2 away. Good start here for Adam Wainwright. Last 3 outings has not gone deep into games. 6 innings pitched. The walks you see against Atlanta, 5 walks in that game. The Phillies, he took a loss, just 2 walks, but gave up the 9 hits and 7 earned runs. And then Sunday at Cincinnati, the 4-hour game. The one against Atlanta, I asked Tony La Russa about it, and in particular with his emotions as Ryan Braun digs in, and he thought that might have been part of the problem, but since then it obviously has been mechanical.
Well, it's something that he felt that has been a problem ever since spring training, and as I said, they also were kind of questioning, here's a guy who's supposed to have a good fastball but reluctant to throw it, and if you don't throw it, you lose it. 1-0
pitch to Braun, one of the top hitters in baseball, 2-0. He's hitting .322 with 8 home runs and 28 RBIs. It seems like everywhere he goes, he's one of those guys that turns into public enemy #1 and thrives on being that guy. When he walks into a visiting ballpark, quickly 3-0.
It's always fun to walk into an enemy stadium and be greeted by a standing boo.
As you did many times.
But, I mean, as you say, some guys can't handle that, and others look forward to it.
That's in the top 5 of career averages against the Cardinals. .417 for Ryan Braun. He's 5 for 17 against Adam Wainwright with a couple of home runs.
He's out of the 05 draft, as is Colby Rasmus, and some people believe that might be the best draft ever.
Fights it off. Green, a diving catch to take the hit away. Tyler Green ranging to his left and makes the play and takes a hit away from Ryan Braun. And a 1-2-3 inning for Wainwright. Stretched out fully. No score. man statue fixture here in St. Louis. After a half inning of play here at Busch Stadium, no score. The Cardinals lineup reads like this today. Skip Schumacher hitting .321. Then Shane Robinson, Albert Pujols, Chris Duncan, Yadier Molina has hit 19 of his last 24. Colby Rasmus, Tyler Green, Joe Thurston, and Adam Wainwright. Against an old buddy of ours, Jeff Suppan. His numbers brought to you by Marshall Wireless.
2-3, the high ERA, but most of that was in April. He's pitched much better in May, and he could be a handful for the Cardinals with his ability to change speeds.
Start of the season, the Brewers were a little concerned about all the home runs allowed, but they feel that he's figured something out too and pitched much better in his last start.
It's not uncommon for guys to come out of spring training and get a little bit of a struggle. You start in spring training, you're in warm weather, and then you go up to Milwaukee. Even though they have a roof, it's still tougher conditions. You're cold up there.
On the outside corner, and it's hit to short. J.J. Hardy up with it and makes the play, and Skip is retired. A look at the Brewers defensively. It's much improved from a couple of years ago with Braun, Cameron, and Hart in the outfield. Bill Hall now over at third base. J.J. Hardy, Ricky Weeks, Prince Fielder, and Jeff Suppan and Jason Kendall the battery. The Auto Tire Brewers defense. Last 3 outings for Suppan. Typical Jeff Suppan, not going deep into games, but giving his team a chance to win.
Usually see him pitch 6 innings and give up about 3 runs.
Here's Shane Robinson. All your time in baseball, who has the advantage? Is it the team that, like a Cardinal team that is a former teammate of Jeff Suppan going into this, or is it Suppan on the mound against his former team, knowing their weaknesses?
I think it depends on the individuals, but I think Jeff is such a student of the game that even when he was wearing the Cardinal uniform, he surveyed these guys, dreamt about what would it be like to face them, try to dissect their weaknesses. The problem he's got a lot of young guys, the rookies that the Cardinals have right now, but because of his knowledge and his ability to change speeds, I think he's going to be a handful for a lot of the younger players.
1 ball and 2 strikes on Shane Robinson with Pujols on deck. We'll show you our keys to the game momentarily, but Jeff Suppan, you might say it gives him the edge facing his former team, as he has pitched very well against the Cardinals since he left St. Louis. The 2-2 pitch. Ooh, just missed on the outside corner. Another thing about Suppan, rarely do you see anything over the middle of the plate.
Yeah, he's a pitch maker. Of course, he's also dependent upon the umpire. Have a strike zone that calls pitches up and down and both sides of the plate.
A 3-2. He was so good in the 06 postseason, the National League Championship Series MVP. Pitched a remarkable game in Game 7 at Shea Stadium. The place literally was shaking, and he was one of the differences.
You and I both agree that during his time in St. Louis, he might have been the best postseason pitcher the Cardinals had.
I think he was. I really do. Up the middle, and a base hit for Shane Robinson. Even if Weeks gets to that and fields it cleanly, I don't think he gets Shane Robinson.
Probably doesn't get him, but he's also noted as an offensive player. He's not very good defensively.
So our keys to the game presented by Toyota, and this is Jeff Suppan with a 1.93 ERA against the Cardinals since 07. His first year in Milwaukee. Wandy Rodriguez and Roy Oswalt from the Astros, Mahalam and Ted Lilly. 3 of the 5 are lefties against the Cardinals in that top 5.
I was just looking at that. 3 of the 5 are lefties. Cardinals sort of those soft tossing lefties, and then you got Oswalt and Suppan in there. Oswalt just one of the premier pitchers in the past, and then Suppan just a master of making pitches.
And here's Albert Pujols, who is 12 for 30 against Suppan in his career. Hitting .323, 13 home runs, 37 driven in on the year. First season with the Cardinals was 2004, and Soup was 16-9 that year. But you remember that Game 7 matchup against the Astros and Roger Clemens that started that reputation that you talked about in town as far as Soup being a very good postseason pitcher. 2005, another 16-win campaign. He was 16-10 with an ERA under 4. That was his lowest ERA of his career. 06, the championship year, he was 12-7. And then his first 2 years with Milwaukee combined, he's been a 500 pitcher, but roughly around 200 innings. Short lead at first by Robinson.
Interesting, as you see Jeff Suppan basically standing in the middle of the rubber. You know, most pitchers are going to either be, they'll shade the third base or first base side, but he's in the middle. And of course, he has the ability to work both sides of the plate.
1 ball, 1 strike on Albert Pujols. Good rip, but fouled away. Mentioned the improved defense for Milwaukee, and that includes Jason Kendall behind the plate. 2 years ago, Johnny Estrada, remember he got that shoving match with Ned Yost. He only threw out just over about 10% of would-be base stealers, and then Kendall last year was outstanding in that department.
And that's an area where Kendall, you know, prior to last season, really struggled throwing out runners himself.
And that's why I thought it was kind of a curious move when they did that. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Long look by Soup. Here it comes. High fly ball. Left field. Braun is back, and Pujols just got underneath it too much. 2 outs. Brings in Duncan, who's had very good numbers against Suppan.
How about Suppan's ability to change speed, so you really don't want to be out in front. You know, lesser hitters are going to be out in front, and this was a hanging off speed pitch, but Albert got underneath it, just a shallow pop-up.
Pujols now 3 for his last 24. Here is Duncan, 5 for 9 with a double against Suppan, hitting .274 on the year with 3 home runs and 23 driven in. There goes Robinson. Throw by Kendall to second. Safe. Shane, it looked like he slid to the outside portion of the bag. That may have helped on that quick tag there at second base.
Be his first major league steal as he steals this off the pitcher. And you can see the throw coming into front of the bag, and he, as you said, Dan, slides towards the back half.
They shade Duncan now to pull very deep in a big gap in the left center field. Cardinals expect to get a lot healthier here on this homestand, which means Rick Ankiel would join us next week. Of course, they activated Brendan Ryan yesterday. And Jim Hayes reporting on a pregame show that it looks like Chris Carpenter will pitch next week at some point. We're not sure when. Jim even said maybe the possibility early in the week, but we'll have to wait and see.
Possibility of even as early as Tuesday. Prior to the rainout, they were thinking in terms of Friday or Saturday.
Here's a 1-1. 1 ball and 2 strikes. So, Jim, possibly Tuesday here with Chris Carpenter?
They're looking at Tuesday or Wednesday. I think a lot of it was predicated on the fact that they did have the rain out, Dan, and the fact that Carpenter feels great after he had that pseudo session yesterday. I asked him how he felt, and he said fantastic. So he's upbeat about it, and I think the Cardinals are going to give him a shot.
Here's a 1-2 pitch instead of check on the runner Robinson, and that would mean then you get him in line for the Chicago Cubs, and also the possibility of 2 starts here at home. 1 ball and 2 strikes. He then could go on Sunday against Kansas City. Here's a 1-2 pitch. Outside, 2-2.
And one of the things you got to do it, if you do it on Tuesday, and I'm trying to go off of memory, you would miss the Milwaukee series in Wisconsin. If you do it Wednesday, then he would be facing one of your rivals in the Central Division in Milwaukee on top of him.
And it is amazing how far ahead Tony La Russa looks at those types of matchups. And that might play into what he's thinking with Tuesday. Ooh, just missed in.
This is Jeff Kellogg, who is the home plate umpire last night in the washed out game, and we saw early in that game that he really hadn't settled in with his strike zone, and Chris Duncan is lucky to still be up there.
It was pretty tight. That last pitch was pretty good.
And yes, and I think as a pitcher, definitely would want that one.
Suppan is a guy, when runners get on, he really slows things down. 3-2 with 2 outs and a runner at second base. Molina's on deck. This will be Soup's 20th pitch of the first inning. When Walt Jocketty signed Jeff Suppan, the idea was, let's get 10 wins and a lot of innings, and he was better than that. Off-speed pitch held on to by Kendall, and Duncan strikes out. Cardinals strand a runner, and there's no score. Statue out there turning that double play, and there's another former Cardinal, Braden Looper, who's in the rotation for the Milwaukee Brewers. Doug Melvin looking for innings and went to Braden Looper. Here's Prince Fielder, who's 4 for 17 against Wainwright, and that pitch is taken for a strike. Prince with 8 home runs, 32 driven in, brand new 2-year deal under his belt, and hitting .273. Quickly, no balls and 2 strikes. A lot of young players for the Cardinals with all the injuries. Rasmus Robinson, Tyler Green, Joe Thurston listed as a rookie.
And the Cardinals put out a lineup that would be borderline finable in spring training. If you put this team on the road, you know, you'd have trouble. Watch Molina set up outside with a fastball, and that's perfect location.
And there's the breaking ball on the hands, and a swing and a miss by Fielder, and the first strikeout for Adam Wainwright.
And after the fastball away, all of a sudden now you get the breaking ball, and he keeps that away. It breaks, starts out down. Good tight rotation on the curveball. And when you see it as a hitter, you see a ball there and it starts out thigh high, don't swing at it because it's going to fall beneath the strike zone.
Cameron, Tyler Green, 2 away. Good start here for Wainwright. 5 up, 5 down. It brings in Corey Hart. Visit the official online shop of the Cardinals at STLCardinals.com. Browse the largest selection of authentic gear, including caps, t-shirts, jerseys, and more. Get your Cardinals gear straight from the source at STLCardinals.com.
Just watch his mannerisms on the mound. He talked about how he sprinted out there to start this game. He wanted to go out there, and right now he wants to pitch. Not wasting any time. He feels like he's in good command, and he's setting the tone for this game.
I like the first pitch strikes because it always seemed that in the previous starts he was pitching from behind in the count. And with his good stuff as a hitter, all of a sudden you get that first strike on you. You're thinking, well, what's coming next?
He's pitching with confidence, where earlier in the season, not knowing because his mechanics a little out of whack, he felt like he was going out there unarmed.
The 0-2 pulled foul on a breaking ball by Corey Hart. This guy is kind of an unsung hero in their lineup, isn't he?
I really believe so. I mean, he's the kind of guy that maybe gets overshadowed by some of the other presence in the lineup. But when it's all said and done, he ends up there with 20-plus home runs, 20-plus stolen bases.
There's the fastball again. And you mentioned with Wainwright going away from his fastball. And what are you seeing? A lot of cutters?
Yeah, it's the cutters, but I mean, which to me sometimes takes away from the effectiveness of his curveball, and you kind of get in between with your release point. Fastball still is the best pitch. Now, when you're throwing in the rotation, you're not maxing out like you are when you're throwing your fastball out of the bullpen. Here's a fastball. Oh, and the fastball there is a breaking ball.
2-2. Hart is hitting .264 with 3 home runs, 14 RBIs on the year.
Outside fastball. Let's see where it goes. Right down the middle.
Right center, well hit. Rasmus looks up and it's gone. 1-0 Milwaukee. Corey Hart with his 4th home run, his 15th RBI. After Wainwright had him 0-2, a 2-2 pitch, and a 2-out home run for Corey Hart.
Well, there's a great example of missing location. It's so easy at times to second guess pitch selection, but really most of the time it's an error in location. Set up away, look at the glove, goes towards the middle of the plate, and this is a team that leads the National League in home runs. They add to their 47 league leading home run total with their 48th.
Here's Bill Hall. Hall at third base, and this is a guy that has been switching positions every year. He was at shortstop 2 years ago, center field, and then third base he finally settled on. And a lot of people believe that's why he has struggled at the plate. He hasn't put up the typical numbers that we saw that he was progressing towards. Remember, 06 he had 35 home runs.
How many times we remark about Schumacher and his ability to keep his average at 300 with his position shift. And so you make a very good point here talking about Hall.
2-1. This is a team that if you have good right-handed pitching, you can beat the Brewers because their lineup basically features the one lefty for the most part day in and day out, and that's Prince Fielder. Hall only hit .174 against right-handed pitching last year.
But it goes back to your ability to spot the ball. Can you keep it out of the middle of the plate? Can you keep it, up and in, down and away, change speeds?
And a 3-1 pitch to Bill Hall. 3-2. Matter of fact, it was a major league low 24% their plate appearances by left-handers last year. As a team, they only hit .246 against those righties. That's a big difference.
Well, their team doesn't hit for a high average, but as you talk about the home runs,
makes up for a lot, doesn't it? Good pitch, and Hall strikes out. Corey Hart's measured distance of 398 feet with the home run. And coming up for the Cardinals, the catcher that's been swinging the bat well, Yadier Molina. Nothing Brewers as we move to the bottom of the second.
Little things in the game. When you have an 0-2 pitch, your catcher setting up down and away, you don't even have to throw a strike. But look at the glove. Moves straight up over the middle of the plate. Up and over the middle of the plate. That's the home run. Ball off the bat of Corey Hart.
So Corey Hart picks up the home run. A solo shot. And remember, Wainwright had him at 0-2.
Exactly.
And then it was a 2-2 pitch. Deposited in the seats.
You an 0-2, you either want that ball right on the corner or away.
And Hart was only 3 for 18 against Wainwright prior to that at bat. 0-1 pitch to Yadier Molina. Breaking ball taken a little bit in. Now Jeff Suppan, we showed you the great ERA that he's had the 5 previous starts as a member of the Brewers in a 4-0 record. Just 8 earned runs in nearly 40 innings against his former club, and this is his 12th career appearance against the Cardinals. He's 6-2 overall.
You just watch how he pitches and how everything is in the lower part of the strike zone. Keeps balls out of the middle of the plate, or if they are, they're down to where somebody just pounds it on the ground.
1-2 on Molina with Rasmus on deck, and then we'll see Tyler Green. 2-2. Busch Stadium still filling up. The sea of red. A cool afternoon on this Saturday. Suppan was the opening day starter for the Milwaukee Brewers. In a way, the Cardinals catch a break by the rainout as far as the hitters are concerned, not seeing Yovani Gallardo anymore.
They had a 2-0 lead thanks to Rasmus's home run, but he is an outstanding young pitcher. And they catch a break. They've done that quite a bit, missing aces.
They also, in this rotation, have Manny Parham, Braden Looper, the former Cardinal, and Dave Bush. Chris Capuano, the lefty, is recovering from his second Tommy John surgery, and there's their new manager, Ken Maka.
Of course, the Cardinals once again in the Kansas City series. If everything holds true, they will miss Zach Greinke, who did pick up his 7th win last night. He already went up because he gave up a run.
3-2 is hit up the middle for a base hit. Now, Suppan lives on those corners, but as you said, if you don't get those calls, then all of a sudden on a 3-2 pitch, he's got to throw you a strike.
But a veteran pitcher, even though it's the leadoff man, he still knows that if he keeps the ball down, he's going to get a ground ball. It's in the middle. It goes right back up the middle. Good piece of hitting. But it's a single. And with his ability to get ground balls, he can turn the next one into a ground ball double play. Make them hit their way on.
And here's Colby Rasmus, who homered here last night. Of course, our Exmo camera brought to you by Hot Shots Sports Bar and Grill. Rasmus with that home run last night. That would have been his 3rd, but that's washed away. Bill Hall in on the grass over at third base. Short lead by Molina. We talked at length about this last night. The more playing time that Rasmus has gotten, he looks a whole heck of a lot more comfortable at the plate.
Looks more locked in, but I think the biggest factor is because of Ankel's injury, who is starting to swing the bat at extended spring down at Jupiter this weekend. You know, that you're just not looking over your shoulder. You know you're going to be out there tomorrow, whether it's a good or bad day.
2-0 is off the end of the bat. Tough little hop, a shovel pass to second. Bill Hall to Ricky Weeks, and they get the lead man. A little funny spin. You thought it might take that tricky hop on the third baseman Hall. Tonight, Cardinals Live is from the Aqua Bar at Lumiere Place Casino. Player interviews and Tony La Russa, plus Pat Paris and Rick Horton break down the game. U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live after the game on Fox Sports Midwest. So Rasmus hits into the fielder's choice. Here's Tyler Green. And what's interesting here is no Khalil Green again.
And Khalil Green has a history against Suppan, a .417 average with a home run. The only home run that any of the Cardinals have hit off of Suppan.
And that's something, all those at-bats for Pujols against his former teammate, and still no home run.
Well, and I think that's a credit to Suppan and his ability to pitch. And you've got one of the greatest hitters of all time in Pujols, but his ability to keep the ball down in the zone, to change speeds, get him a little bit off balance, and don't give him something that he can really drive.
A check on Colby Rasmus, his good speed. Of course, with all the scouting reports, they know that he has good speed. It's another matter, though, to see if he's going to run. Cardinals were running in the first with Shane Robinson. Will they do that here? Joe Thurston waiting on deck.
Really leaning out there at first base.
As we saw, Suppan is not the quickest to the plate, but what he does very well. And at times, it'll lull you to sleep as a fan, but you know, he really takes his time once runners get on base and neutralizes the running game by how long he'll hold the ball. He varies it up from time to time, from pitch to pitch.
The key, varying your moves. You know, the quick move over there, step off, which he just does. You know, you hold the ball, take the life out of the legs, the spring action out of the legs of a base runner.
A little bigger lead this time for Rasmus.
There he's throwing more like his B+ move to first.
You know, we talk about the book that Dave Duncan keeps. Well, so does Dave McKay, the Cardinal first base coach. He was telling me the other day that when they get opposing pitchers that sign on with the Cardinals or they make a trade, he'll whip out the book and say, all right, this is what you are typically to the plate. This is what we've picked up on you. This is what we've seen before. And he does it with his own pitchers as well. And now McKay looking into the Cardinal dugout and talking with Rasmus. But just little things that they try to pick up on for that base runner at first.
And of course, a little shorter lead than we saw that Colby had in Pittsburgh, where he got picked off. And we showed him, you know, on the bench, long discussions with Dave McKay and Colby Rasmus, trying to learn how far to get out there to where you're comfortable enough of getting back.
He's leaning again towards second, not running, and the pitch is a strike on the inside corner.
Picked off at Pittsburgh, kind of shortened up a little bit, but here you can see he gets back with plenty of time on a pretty good move. So, you know, by theory, you can say, okay, you know how far you were that time. You can get a little bit further. Not much.
It's the Exmo Cam, brought to you by Hot Shots Sports Bar and Grill. Location downtown, 1 block south of the ballpark on Broadway. Here's a 1-2 pitch. Not running again, and that's a strikeout. Not only will he lull the fans to sleep and the runner to sleep, but maybe the hitter too. Well, baseball's best rivalry returns to Busch Stadium as the Cardinals host the Cubs May 19th, the 20th, and the 21st, and still great seats still available for all 3 games. So lock in your Cardinals Cubs tickets today at stlcardinals.com. So we were supposed to have the off day on Monday. That's now a makeup game of the washout from last night, and then the Cubs in town Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Well, that's great. All the more action right here, and really interesting times.
Thurston takes a ball. Joe is hitting .239 with a home run and 14 RBIs.
What do you think about here, Dan? You got 2 outs. Wainwright's a good hitting pitcher. You've got Thurston, who is 0 on the road trip. Take a little pressure off him. Maybe start the runner and see if we can get something going.
I'm with you. I like the fact that you take pressure off of Thurston, who is struggling, and you make that commitment to swing the bat.
You know, you've got Kendall. Well, 2 things. Suppan is very good at varying his moves, but you know, he is a little slow to the plate. Kendall is kind of back to normal, where he's only throwing out 19% of the runners stealing, and Colby's got good speed.
I'm with you. Let's start him.
He's by far an accomplished base stealer, but he has that speed. You know, you should get a good jump, and you're going to steal off the pitcher. And Kendall, you know, it's just like we said, Thurston kind of struggled a little bit. If you are successful with it and you get these guys on, Wainwright's very capable of tying the game or giving himself the lead.
3-0.
The only thing is, and right now, you know, you got Jeff. Will he throw enough strikes? Because he knows he's got 2 outs. He's got a position player up there. He's got the pitcher on deck, and there's no doubt he knows that Wainwright is a very accomplished hitter. But he still, in his mind, believes he's better than any hitter, any pitcher hitting.
And he walks Thurston, so first and second. Looked like he was pretty much pitching around him. Didn't it seem that way?
It did, but I think that last pitch, I think he was surprised that it was called a ball.
Yeah. So Wainwright will dig in and a chance to help himself. Maybe Suppan, talking with Kendall, 1, to go over signs, 2, to ask him about some of those pitches, and 3, hey, let's not forget here, Adam Wainwright can swing the bat.
And Suppan would know that a lot better than Kendall. But in your mind, if you're a pitcher, you have to believe that you are better than any hitting pitcher.
Wainwright is hitting 176 this year.
If you pitch around a guy, you do it because you know you can get the next guy out.
A pitch outside and low. Astros and Cubs playing today. No score, they're just underway.
Time being called as Thurston is fixing the running lane out there beyond the cutout. He was trying to smooth out the dirt.
Outfield play straight away for Adam Wainwright. Little chopper towards second base. He can just step on the bag. He will. The Cardinals have left 3 on in the first couple of innings here at Busch Stadium. A special guest for a great cause coming up when we come back. Join us here in the broadcast booth, the wife of Blaine Boyer, and welcome to St. Louis. How's the transition been?
Thank you. We like it. We like it a lot.
How tough is it? I want to get into the Komen research here in just a bit and the big day tomorrow, but how tough is it for the family, the wives, after a player has been traded to all of a sudden uproot your family and relocate to a different city?
Well, for us it wasn't as hard as it can be for some people. We don't have any kids, just 2 dogs. But, yeah, I'm the one packing and moving and dragging things all over the country. So
Kendall hits it to Adam Wainwright for the first out. And I know Blaine and Adam were actual roommates and teammates in the Braves organization, weren't they?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're thrilled to be back together.
So tell us about tomorrow. The wives are getting together, the girlfriends, and there's Blaine Boyer, who's in the Cardinal bullpen. What is happening tomorrow for folks that are coming to the ballpark?
Well, tomorrow the Cardinals' wives are pairing up with Komen Foundation, and we are not auctioning off, we're selling raffle tickets for game-worn jerseys, and basically accepting any donations for breast cancer awareness and research.
So that's Sunday, tomorrow.
Yes.
And the wives and the Komen folks for the Cure. St. Louis will team up. It's their annual fundraiser here at the ballpark. This is Wainwright against Suppan. This is the 7th time that the organization has been involved with this. Karen Long, a breast cancer survivor and Coleman volunteer, will throw out the first pitch, which she did today. And, of course, so many people will be involved with that tomorrow. So a $25 donation. You receive an autographed baseball card chosen from a grab bag for $50. You get to choose the autograph card. And I know the wives are excited about this as Tyler Green ranges to his left to make the play. So this is kind of fun for you guys to get involved, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is.
So there's 2 outs as Suppan is retired. And Ricky Weeks, who lined out his first time up, will dig in with 2 outs. So the wives get together before the game, and then you're going to be basically all over the ballpark.
Yeah, we will probably be split up into pairs, and you can find us. We'll be wearing our jerseys with our husband's name and number on the back, and we'll have the cards with us that we're selling, as well as the raffle tickets and accepting any donations. And
folks are encouraged to look and register online at stlcardinals.com to find out more. That first pitch is a strike to Ricky Weeks for $5. Also, you receive a raffle ticket and a chance to win 1 of 10 game-worn jerseys. So Jenzie Boyer is our guest, the wife of Blaine Boyer. Works in the Cardinals bullpen. That's strike 2. And I'm assuming with the way things have gone for him, home life must be great. He's pitching wonderfully well here in St. Louis.
Yeah, we're thrilled to be here.
Ricky Weeks, as I mentioned, 0 for 1 with that line out to center. In the hole here, no balls and 2 strikes. So when you get traded, and I say you as well.
Yes, it's a we.
Yeah, you get word of that. What's it like?
You know, it was funny when we found out Adam Wainwright is the first one that Blaine called. Before we called our family, our agent, anything. And Adam said, I don't want you to say anything until you tell me you're a Cardinal. Blaine said, well, Adam, I'm a Cardinal. He was like, no, really, do you know anything? Blaine said, no, Adam, really, I'm a Cardinal.
Is that right?
Yeah, they acted like little kids on the phone with each other. They were thrilled.
That's great. 1 ball and 2 strikes here on Ricky Weeks. J.J. Hardy to follow. 1-0 Milwaukee as we play here in the 3rd. Is it tough watching your husband pitch?
You know, I think I've gotten used to it. Our moms, my mom and his mom, both still have a hard time watching, but I've gotten used to it by now.
Are you a Georgia girl?
I am.
Okay.
I am.
And Blaine is a Georgia boy.
He is.
Okay.
Yep.
2-2 pitch. Good pitch by Wainwright. Jenzie, thanks for stopping by. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me.
Welcome to St. Louis. Good luck the rest of the way, and good luck tomorrow, too.
All right. Well, thank you.
Jenzie Boyer with us here in the booth. Tomorrow's a game that raises money for the season. we've got you under our wing. And by the Casino Queen, home of the loosest slots. Bottom of the third rolls in here at Busch Stadium. Top of the lineup, Skip Schumacher, and he takes a strike on the outside corner. Schumacher grounded to short first time up. It'll be Schumacher, Shane Robinson, and Albert Pujols for the Cardinals. Difference in this game, the Corey Hart home run, which was hit back in the second inning.
You didn't scare Mrs. Boyer, did you?
I did not. Very pleasant to visit with her, and
I scared Mrs. Barden, who's now going to go over the radio as I prepared her for Mike.
Fielder makes the play, and you got her ready to visit with Mike Shannon.
That's right.
The one and only Mike Shannon.
She said she'd been warned.
President Teddy Roosevelt was issued a lifetime pass to any Major League Baseball game in 1907. He never once used that pass. Baseball fun facts. Keith O'Brien in our truck coming up with that.
I got to find my lifetime pass.
Well, you have your media pass, which gets you just about anywhere you want.
I said my lifetime pass. They give you I think it's after 8 years in the big leagues, they give you a gold medal card.
For players.
For the players. That entitles you to go to any major and minor league ballpark and bring a guest. Free of charge.
Is that still in order? Is that still around?
I assume so. Like I said, I've lost mine someplace years ago.
You better call the Players Association and get on this.
Dan, they would rather hear from you than me.
Why would they want to hear from you?
No, I'll explain that in a second. It makes logical sense.
Here's a ground ball and a base hit for Shane Robinson, who's 2 for 2.
Another high delivery that has that ability. He's not very tall, but to get on top and hit down on the ball.
You were good for the Players Association.
No. I'm just saying that they would entertain your call ahead of me because they wouldn't know what you want. Maybe you would offer them something. If an ex-player calls,
you want something.
They must want something. And once your playing career is over, you are no longer a member of that association. So,
have you called the Players Association in the last, let's say, 2 years?
No.
5 years?
No.
10?
No.
Since you were playing,
no.
Days were over?
No. They wouldn't take it.
Trubosky again. Hang up. Flick. Pujols, a slow roller towards third. Glove there by Bill Hall, and he'll make the play. There's 2 outs. Albert is 0 for 2. Duncan struck out swinging first time up.
Talked about how Duncan's had success against Suppan. With the strikeout, he's now 5 for 10 against him. I would bet to venture very few times, though, they were in situations where it could hurt Jeff. Maybe in a situation with 2 outs, nobody on base, he might let him hit the ball, or give him a pitch to hit that he gets a base hit with it. But we'll see. And right now, he's very vulnerable to the off-speed pitch.
2 outs, runner at second. That's the tying run. The first pitch taken inside by Duncan. Pujols 0 for 2 here today, and he's in a little bit of a rut. We don't see an extended slump for Pujols like this.
Well, Albert was 4 for 23 on the road trip. 2 of those hits were home runs, solo home runs, and 2 of them were two-run RBI singles, just bounced up the middle.
Duncan rolls over on this to Dave McKay.
Another off-speed pitch out in front, and the correct terminology, like you said, rolls over.
1 ball, 1 strike. Cardinals will have a decision to make with Ant Keel coming off the DL next week. As you mentioned, he's at extended spring right now, just taking some at-bats down in the spring training complex of the Cardinals in Jupiter. Another off-speed pitch to Duncan.
That's what they're going to feature until he can prove that he can hit that pitch. And that'll come with time. There's been a whole history of very successful power guys that were very vulnerable to a changeup or a slow breaking ball, but then they see so many of them, they eventually become a very effective hitter against that.
In the hole here with a ball and 2 strikes. The next 2, Duncan shatters his bat and hits a ground ball to second. The Cardinals have stranded 4 here in the first 3 innings. Hardy, Braun, Fielder coming up. It's 1-0 Milwaukee. Albert home run. Thank you very much for being here. Unfortunately, it's been the Corey Hart home run the difference in this game so far. Hardy, Braun, Fielder. 2, 3, and 4 for Milwaukee. And a 1-0 pitch is hit high in the air out to shallow right center field. Schumacher backing up, but called off by Shane Robinson. North Star Ice Cream Sundays this Sunday. Tomorrow, extra special beginning 2 hours prior to the game in the Ford Plaza. Join us for music, fun, games, and don't forget the free ice cream while supplies last. North Star Ice Cream Sundays. Here's Ryan Braun, who lined out to short his first time up, and a very fine play by Tyler Green. And that pitch is taken for a strike. Special visitor in the booth with us, Lauren Henneke. All smiles. Sweet 16, we understand.
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, I saw Lauren in spring training. She told me she was going to be at the ballpark on her birthday. Now, she also, if memory serves me right, I think she hit a home run off me last year when she was playing for Albert Pujols' All-Star team.
No, Albert has done pretty well during the Buddy Walk, by the way. So you're shaking your head. You know that he's hit those home runs, huh? He's had 7 on the Buddy Walk. Pujols to Wainwright, and they get Braun. As the shift was on, he was trying to take that to right. Want to remind folks that if you're not headed to the ballpark on Monday, tune in. We'll have that game for you with coverage beginning at 6:30 Monday on FSN Midwest, Fox Sports Midwest. And so if you had a ticket for the game last night, it is good for Monday, and we'll have it for you on television Monday night at 6:30. Here's Prince Fielder. Here's the 0-1. 1 ball, 1 strike. Fielder struck out swinging first time up. Wainwright was very aggressive in that at bat against Fielder. He went right at him.
He's made one mistake today, and it cost him on the Corey Hart home run, but he really loved the way he's pitching.
control has been much better today?
Everything is down. He just made the one mistake over the middle of the plate, missing location, but just his mannerisms out there. Now that he's fallen behind here, he's taking a little more time. Just kind of regroup a little bit, but you can tell he feels like he's very much in control.
The 2-1 pitch. Only thing I get concerned about when I hear about, pitchers saying, I figured something out mechanically, is that then in that next start they're thinking about it so much it becomes almost a problem again.
Well, in his case, though, he's known about it for a while. And that's why his bullpen sessions have been so important for him. That's when you've got to worry about that. You think about it there, and then you work it out to where it becomes muscle memory.
So first walk issued by Wainwright, and it brings in the center fielder, Mike Cameron. The 36-year-old, outstanding defensive player, 3-time Gold Glover, as Milwaukee picked up a $10 million option for this 2009 season. You get concerned about his strikeouts, as Cameron struck out over 140 times last year.
Mike Cameron, his presence in this ball club has been big improvement, as they have so many young players here. Get more of a veteran guy that kind of take them through the wars, educate them a little bit on how tough it is and how to win.
0-2 pitch, gets the breaking ball and hits it sharply to Thurston with a force play at second. First runner that's been stranded by Milwaukee today. Molina leads it off when we come back. In St. Louis Cardinals baseball, as Yadier Molina will lead it off for the Redbirds. Cardinals about hit the Brewers 3-1, but that one hit, a big one. A solo home run by Corey Hart back in the second inning. So Molina will dig in. He picked up a base hit on a 3-2 pitch back in the second inning. It'll be Molina, Rasmus, and Green for the St. Louis Cardinals. Milwaukee has changed up their coaching staff. Ken Maka is their new manager. An unprecedented move in many ways to see Ned Yost have his team right on the cusp of getting into the playoffs, and then with a couple of weeks left in the regular season, they fired him.
I'm sure it was a very difficult situation for ownership and the general manager to do so.
Bill Hall with plenty of time, low throw, and Molina is 1 for 2. Let's turn now to our Aflac trivia question. Get our thinking caps on as Rasmus gets set to dig in. before Yachty did it last year. Who was the last Cardinals catcher to hit 300 in a season? Got to think about Ted Simmons. And it was Ted Simmons back in 1980.
Well, I was looking, and Kendall is really moving up on the hit list. He's close to 2,000 hits, but there's about 5 or 6 catchers that are in the Hall of Fame that have had fewer hits than Ted Simmons, and there's only one catcher that has more hits above him, and that's Rodriguez, who you have to assume is going to be a Hall of Famer himself.
Where was Bench?
Well, Bench is on that list, but he's significantly behind Ted. We'll find it someplace.
What hurts Ted Simmons? The fact that he played on some poor teams and it wasn't New York?
That's part of it, that he didn't play any championship teams, here in St. Louis. Teddy was just under 2,500 hits. Johnny Bench just over 2,000, 2,048. Kendall is 3 hits away from 2,000. Carlton Fisk, Yogi Berra, Mike Piazza, Gary Carter, Johnny Bench all have fewer hits than Ted Simmons.
A walk to Rasmus. So I guess the question now, Al, with the way that Hall of Fame voting goes back to that Veterans Committee, how do you present that case, and who would do it to say, look, just look at some of these numbers for Ted Simmons. Folks, this guy needs to be in the Hall of Fame.
Well, they're still trying to revamp that system. At one time, when you put it in the hands of the Hall of Famers, they did not approve anyone, because they kind of say, well, hey, we're a member of this exclusive fraternity. Why should we water it down and bring anybody else on board?
Which to an extent I can understand.
Yeah, and because they're in the club.
Right.
And so now there's got a consensus of some of the Hall of Fame writers and broadcasters are there.
On a hop to short, he'll take it himself, and a double play. Hardy over to Fielder. And we played 4. It's 1-0. Series ever between the Cardinals and Marlins. Todd Zeile delivered an RBI single off a rookie reliever by the name of Trevor Hoffman. The Cardinals would win it 1-0.
What happened to Trevor Hoffman?
16 years with San Diego. Most forget that he was with the Marlins, and now in his first season with Milwaukee, and he's paying big dividends already with 8 saves. And they've all been efficient, they say. I mean, it's just 1, 2, 3.
Started the season on the disabled list, but since he's gotten off of that, he's been rocking them up. And you may forget this, but signed as a shortstop.
Oh, I remember that.
In Cincinnati, following his brother's footsteps.
I'll never forget doing a feature on Jason Isringhausen. Now we're out in the Cardinal bullpen about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It was in July here in St. Louis, and it was just blistering hot. And we probably were out there for a good 45 minutes. And the whole time, Trevor Hoffman, who was with the Padres at that time, was running around the track basically at Busch Stadium, the gravel area, and just pouring down sweat. And Izzy just said, that's why this guy is the best. He reinvented himself with his changeup, and nobody, and he goes, I mean nobody, outworks this guy.
Right, and notorious hard worker in the offseason, almost follows a military regiment, almost like what the Navy SEALs do. Running is so extensive.
Thurston bobbles it, but stays with it. Trevor Hoffman this season, opponents only hitting .115 against him. And here's what we're talking about yesterday at 304. Trevor Hoffman stretching.
And he's, what, 40 years of age now? Or? Trevor, we went to the same high school. I think I went to it, in the 1800s. But
and you guys followed that same workout regimen still?
Yeah, definitely. We didn't have rubber bands, weren't invented yet, but his house was 2 houses down from mine. We had the common, in that neighborhood, common back fences. And my younger brother, when Trevor got to the big leagues, my younger brother said, "Do you remember Trevor Hoffman?" I said, "I don't even remember Glenn, his older brother."
Well, Al, you were basically born and raised in the 70s. I mean, you don't remember much. That's when you became a man, Al.
That's a good point. But, Trevor, you got me thinking. And trying to, I won't say making an educated statement, but I just trying to make the proper statement. But
I'll focus back on Hoffman here. Keep us in line.
But I asked Trevor to try to, one time I said, by the way, when I signed and left home, how old were you? And we figured he was about 1 year old.
Is that right?
So I felt vindicated.
And there's a strikeout of Billy Hall. Time for one of our MLB fun facts. The Cardinals clinched the 26 World Series when Babe Ruth was caught trying to steal second base. The 9th inning of Game 7. Kendall looks at a ball. Lauren Henneke celebrating her Sweet 16th birthday.
Wave, Lauren. Yeah, big home run hitter. He still crushed my feelings.
1 ball, 1 strike on Jason Kendall.
Of course, she wasn't the only star of that game. I gave up 17 runs.
17 runs. You told me about your line afterwards. Wasn't very good. Strike 2 with 2 outs and nobody on. Wainwright has walked 1. He has struck out 4 and allowed just 1 base hit.
See if now he can hit the spot. Fastball away.
Hard on a 2-2 pitch after he had him 0-2 to get the home run.
At 0-2, he tried to throw a fastball down and away and just stayed over the middle of the plate. Good pitch.
Pujols ranging to his right near second base, and Wainwright is there. Midway through 5, 1-0 Brewers. Wainwright covering, you're going to see a low throw. Not bad, but a little low.
Yeah, but you know he's going to try and always help himself out and help his pitcher out. So this way he angles it a little higher, leads him, and you catch it eye level, and then it's not such a drastic transition to reach down and step on the bag.
The last look presented by Hot Shot Sports Bar and Grill. If you're a pitcher for the Cardinals, you better be ready to get over to first base, because Pujols is going to get everything to the right side that he can.
Well, it's a rule of thumb. Anything hit to the right side, you must break towards the bag. But in the case of Albert Pujols and his ability to range so far to his right, you have to really get over there all the time.
First pitch, a ball to Thurston with Adam Wainwright on deck, and then we'll see the top of the lineup for the Cardinals.
Got Billy Hall, the third baseman, playing in, guarding against the bunt, and on the first pitch, he showed bunt.
1-0 pitch. Off the end of the bat, slowly hit to short, backhanded by Hardy. You know, just the little things that you try to do, and of course he got it on the backhand to get himself in throwing position, and it brings in Wainwright. We'll stop by the Westin and enter to win your chance to catch pop flies and win great prizes. For complete details, visit Westin.com. The pop-up challenge, 621-2000 to find out more. For the Westin, I'm sure Dan Kaplan and his staff will take care of you. First pitch to Wainwright, a strike. Grounded to second his first time up. The next from Suppan. And Soup off the mound. Over to Fielder for the second out. Better hurry up to get to this. 6, a serious number. When the Cardinals score 6, you get a 20-ounce coffee, fountain, or frozen drink for just $1 the next day at On the Run at Mobile. Skip Schumacher was telling me the other day that Mark McGwire doesn't miss a game. He'll TiVo the games, he'll watch the Cardinal games, and he says he hears from McGwire at least once a week through text messages or voice messages about what he might be doing at the plate. And I said, well, what's the thing that you took away from working out with Mark McGwire? And he said, approach. Don't deviate from your game plan. Think about one thing and do not get out of your routine no matter who's on the mound.
It's pretty smart, isn't it?
Back to Suppan. And a 1-2-3 inning. A pitcher's duel. 4 hits combined. Switch to the nation's fastest 3G network, AT&T, your world delivered, and by Dodge. Plaza of Champions. That's one of the great aspects about the new ballpark. Harry Weber's sculptures just outside.
I think Mr. Weber is, his work is remarkable. And one of the best features of this new ballpark, those statues out there. And anytime, day or night, driving by the road there, you'll see people out there taking pictures.
Suppan, a grounder hit to short. Tyler Green up with it. And makes the play. Twice Suppan has grounded to short, and there's one away to start the 6th.
2 pitchers dealing here today, and just one mistake has cost Wainwright the lead.
There's Ricky Weeks, who is lined out to center field and also struck out. Hit just .217 in the first half of last year as he dealt with a knee sprain, also a thumb injury. And remember, they had to bring in Ray Durham because they were concerned about Weeks at the end of the season. Durham actually started 12 of the final 22. But it's hard not to like this guy. He's only 26, and you talked about his power from the top of the lineup.
Just a very good offensive weapon. And he'll get better with age. But they knew he had unbelievable power. And he was just trying to make more consistent contact. And you're leading the team with his 9 home runs and 24 RBIs from the leadoff spot.
Sharply to Green. Makes another fine play. As he settles in, you have to like what you see.
Well, you do. And Jose Oquendo can just refine the outstanding skills of Tyler Green, the former #1 draft pick out of Georgia Tech. Weeks was outstanding at, I believe it was LSU, and he had remarkable numbers there. And Tyler really has never been the offensive player. Weeks has always been the offensive, but a little weak on defense. Tyler's the other way around, and starting to show some improvement offensively.
Tyler Green was saying the other day that Pop Warner has been very helpful in the Cardinals minor league system. He's now managing at Springfield, former player in the Cardinals organization. They asked him to retire and coach. He was with us for a year and now in the minor leagues. Tyler Green was drafted originally by the Braves in the 2nd round, didn't sign, and he said he went to Georgia Tech because I'm one of those rare guys that actually said I want to go for the college experience for a while, and passed up the money. 0-2 into the outfield. Wind playing tricks on that ball. It'll carry to Colby Rasmus. Shane Robinson will lead it off, but then due up second. He's 0 for 2 today. DK with Ricky Horton and Jay Randolph Sr. tomorrow. on News Channel 5, and then we'll be back at it Monday night once again. That makeup game is Monday night from last night. The Brewers and the Cardinals. Todd Wellemeyer making his 8th start of the season tomorrow afternoon. And we've got a pitcher's duel here today with Suppan and Wainwright. And Sup will face 2, 3, and 4 in the Cardinals lineup. Shane Robinson with 2 of the 3 Cardinal hits.
That's right. And you figured that a young hitter like this would just get carved up by Sup, but Shane Robinson's had other designs. And of course, his family's in town this weekend, so we hope they've enjoyed his.
In the air out to shallow left. Ryan Braun to make the catch. But we mentioned before that Pujols in 30-plus at-bats has not homered against Jeff Suppan. Now, these are Central pitchers that have done pretty well against Pujols. But some of those guys, pretty big names that he's gotten home runs against. Oswald, Sheets, Soprano, Harang, Arroyo, Dempster. Snell can be very tough. And Suppan, no home runs allowed in 30-plus at-bats. That really is saying something.
And Jeff is not the kind of guy. I mean, he gets up his share of home runs.
He's given up at least a home run in every start.
Right. He's given up 7 on the year this year, but he's the kind of pitcher that he loves his challenge, and he knows he bears down a little extra on a great hitter like Albert. You know, it's out of respect, and also he wants this challenge to have this one-on-one. He's not the best pitcher in the world. This is the best hitter in baseball right now, but it gives him a chance to say, I'm his equal, on these matchups.
See Pujols just kick at the dirt. Not happy with that. He's been missing some of these pitches that normally he'll drive out of the ballpark or put a great swing on it and hit it a line drive.
It's just human nature that when you have so many of your other key offensive players that are out due to injury, that you try to do too much. Fastball away, just watch how he'll paint that location. You make sure that it's not going to be an area where he gets beat. He'll throw it out there, and if he wants to expand his zone, but he's not going to leave it over the middle of the plate.
And Al, this seems to be a guy that, if you're in a slump, the last guy you want to face is Suppan because he just nibbles. You get over anxious.
Sinker.
You know what I mean? You expand your zone just enough.
Well, that's it. And Jeff is, he doesn't want to walk anybody, but by the same token, he's going to make you either hit his pitch, and I would be shocked if it's not at least something down that either he walks you or you hit a ground ball.
3-2 to Albert Pujols.
Changeup.
Jose Oquendo is out of the third base coaching box. He is past the dirt.
He's a very intelligent third base coach.
Yes, he is. Rene Latchman would be in the front row of the seats with McGuire up.
That was out beyond the left field wall, too. Sinker, but watch, he'll keep it down.
Pujols jammed just a bit. This may drop in for a hit, and it will. Maybe that's what he needs.
The defense may be improving, but you would really like to see a little better effort than that.
Let's go pitch by pitch, brought to you by Chevrolet.
Kendall set up away, and he hits the corner down and away. Set up inside, misses in off the plate, and he gets a little breaking ball. Back away, but watch it's down. Back inside, making sure you don't leave something. Then there was a pitch there, he fouls it off. That pitch, he didn't quite get the location, but he jammed him enough. And if the outfielders really watching that location, they know that ball's not going to hit very far. And you would think that maybe Corey Hart would have a little better effort on that one.
Hart is playing deep now for Duncan, who has good numbers, as I mentioned before, against Suppan coming into play today. A lot of change-ups, off-speed pitches. We've seen Duncan out in front.
And Suppan's has that ability to carve up over-anxious hitters.
Think about Pujols, how smart he is, and the possibility of a steal, but Suppan knows about that. So many pitchers are lulled to sleep with Albert at first base. Calling for it. Hardy to make the catch.
got a pitch to hit. And that's the one thing about Jeff Suppan right now. We always associate that he's going to consistently give you 6 innings. He's in his 6th inning, and he's pitching very, very effectively. But you still know that all of a sudden now he's going to start maybe getting the ball up a little bit. He's going to make a few mistakes as he's tiring, and you just got to have to be ready when you get a pitch. You have to be able to do something with it.
Yadier Molina is 1 for 2, a single, and he's also grounded out to third.
Albert pleading the case for a balk. This may be the time that, you know, Yadi makes one of those hits to the opposite field. Very good at hitting the ball to right field.
They hold Pujols at first, so big gap over there. And Molina takes a ball. Do you buy into former catchers having an advantage over a guy that they caught? You know, a guy like Molina who knows Suppan very, very well.
Some catchers may not realize who they caught. I would think Molina, if there is an advantage, he would be the kind of guy that could take advantage of it.
A 1-0 pitch to Yadier Molina. Here it comes.
And what I'm thinking is he knows that he will pitch inside for effect, but he'll get you out away. And in Molina's case, he's very good at going to the opposite field. So he can envision that he's going to get a pitch out away that he can maybe drive.
Molina and Suppan with 2 outs and a runner at first. The Cardinals with 4 base hits. Milwaukee with 1. But that's the difference in the game. The home run by Corey Hart back in the 2nd. Brewers got into postseason play with a record of 90-72 last year. They won the wild card on the final day of the regular season. The Mets would lose. Milwaukee came back in dramatic fashion with a Ryan Braun home run against the Cubs in the 8th. And CC Sabathia, who was just remarkable down the stretch, would throw a complete game, and they were in postseason play. Molina goes to the opposite way, but on a hop, placed perfectly to Weeks, and we've played 6 here at Busch Stadium. Cardinals have stranded 5, and they trail by a run. East McDonald's. Stop by a participating McDonald's today. Very early in his career, but Ryan Braun has put up tremendous numbers for the Milwaukee Brewers, and hitting .410 now in his career against St. Louis, as he was fooled by that breaking ball but taken inside. So Braun and Pujols, two of the top hitters in baseball. We'll show you right after this pitch how Ryan Braun compares to Pujols at this stage of Pujols' career.
We always talk about Albert, the best hitter in baseball, but you can see a 300 average and more home runs at the same point and comparable in RBI. So, I mean, this really is a remarkable young hitter. He was in the 2005 draft, and I'd say that's the same draft that Kobe Rasmus was in, and some people are now saying that it could be the best draft ever. You look at some of the players that have been there and what they've already become stars in the big leagues.
Just thinking by memory here, Upton, Tulowitzki, Rasmus was in it. Obviously, Ryan Braun,
Garza.
Yeah, Garza was in it.
There's a good bunch of pitchers that have been very successful too.
A 3-1 pitch. Braun slices one into right. Robinson can't come up with it, and Braun is taken two. And he'll have to hurry back to the bag at first. Safe. Shane Robinson almost came up with an outstanding play in right field. It's a base hit and just the second hit for the Brewers today.
Hits the ball hard, sinking line drive, set up away. It's in the middle of the plate, kind of an inside-out stroke, and really he should have came up with that ball, as that ball hits all leather. Sometimes trying to dive, you really compound the problem. But that wouldn't have been a routine fly ball. You see, Braun thought it was going to be caught, and scrambles back.
So Ryan Braun stands at first, and here's Fielder. 0 for 1 with a walk. I was talking with Ricky about this last weekend. When you start to think about when you get a book on a guy, and typically it used to be roughly 1,000 at bats, let's say, and he disagreed with that now, and I'm curious what you think. And his reasoning was because of all the video, the book is out there much quicker than 1,000 at bats.
Two things that I would think about, and I agree with, because of video you get a read, but a lot of it has to do with, maybe people say 1,000 bats because you really don't define yourself as a hitter. You're still learning and progressing until you get that many at bats.
A 1-1 pitch. Little chopper. Can they turn two? Easy double play. 6-4-3. So 6-4-3 double play, and now 2 outs.
And you think he's going to pull the ball, so you see the shortstop close to second base, the left-hand hitter. So a little bouncer, just a couple steps, shovel pass to Schumacher, and then plenty of time to just take your time and make a throw to first.
Here's Cameron, who's 0 for 2. Schumacher, on those double plays, hasn't really been affected one bit.
No, I mean, he's progressed so nicely since spring training, but where he was at the start of spring, he was much improved by the end of spring, and he continues to improve every month. Oquendo, Tony rated him as a 7 on a scale of 10. And Schumacher rated himself 5, and Oquendo said, well, he's better than a 5, maybe a little less than a 7. Sounds like a 6.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's a 6. So let's see.
But it's an improving
5,
6.
6. Yeah, I got it. That is a 6. 1 and 2 on Mike Cameron, who has 7 home runs.
With today's modern math, I'm not sure if it still works that way, but it sounded like a 6 to me.
See, now you start going to that Vianney education that you like to talk about.
I won't do that anymore because my education failed me one time last year.
You're
all right.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We're adding the numbers.
It was like 1 and 1, and I came up with 3. Of course, that is modern math.
A strikeout, his 5th of the afternoon, coming up for the Cardinals. The rookie, Can he go deep again like he did last night? Cardinals down by a run. Time to a look at our Infinity game recap here at Busch Stadium. A pitcher's duel with Jeff Suppan and Adam Wainwright. And Suppan has allowed just 4 base hits. The 1 base hit early on that Adam Wainwright gave up. Corey Hart, a home run. He's only allowed 2 hits today. And Adam has struck out 5. Control has been much better. And he has only walked 1 batter today. So we move to the bottom of the 7th, and here's Colby Rasmus. Rasmus pulls at the fielder and quickly 1 down.
No surprise that Suppan is pitching as effectively as he is, and a pleasant surprise for Wainwright.
So Suppan and Wainwright, this was going into this inning, and Suppan now 6 1/3. Only 4 hits. Wainwright 7 innings under his belt with the 2 hits allowed. And only 1 earned run as he has struck out 5. Khalil Green will pinch hit.
Khalil Green has a .417 average with a home run against Suppan, but really kind of struggling right now is Khalil.
And that's why it made it a little bit surprising why he didn't get the start. Maybe this is one of those guys that gets you on track.
I think Tony has been very, really trying to treat Khalil with kid gloves. Knows he's a quality everyday player. 2 years ago, 27 home runs, 90+ RBIs. Struggled last season, struggling right now, and really just trying to get him to relax.
Only hitting .217, 1-2 is the count. By the way, David Freese has been put on the DL down at Memphis, still dealing with soreness in that ankle, and the Cardinals' first-round pick and a top prospect, Brett Wallace, now headed to AAA Memphis. They are pushing him quickly, aren't they?
He hadn't been swinging the bat that well coming out of the gate at Springfield, but I know he's picked up the pace too.
Yeah, he's hitting just .281 on the year. Freese was hitting .244. Last 10 games, Al, he was hitting around 300, like you said. 5 home runs, 16 RBIs for Wallace.
Wallace is last year's #1 draft pick. He has shown that he can hit it at any level.
Here's Thurston, who has walked in, also grounded out.
I'd be very curious to see what Pop Warner and then what he does defensively at third base. Is the jury still out? Can he play that position at the big league level?
A 1-0 pitch. Thurston with a base hit into right. that's the thing. You know, if you're another organization, you could possibly move that very talented young bat over to first base, but Pujols is locked up. He's not going anywhere. You know, if Brett Wallace is going to make it in the major leagues, he has to play third base.
It could be a great trade bait if to an American League club with the DH, but right now he's an immense talent that is very intriguing.
If there was somebody else coming up the pitching staff, you might think about a pinch hitter, but the way that Wainwright is throwing, the fact that he can handle the bat, I'm sure plays into the decision to let him hit here.
Yes.
Wainwright, though, just a 158 hitter so far this year. He's grounded out to second and also grounded back to the pitcher.
All know is his ability, and he has had 3 career home runs. You know, one of the things we didn't talk about by Gallardo, last night's starter from Milwaukee, he already has 2 home runs. In fact, one game he hit a home run off of the big unit, Randy Johnson, and I think that's the first pitcher to ever hit a home run off of Randy.
A broken bat, that's a base hit. Thirst into second, on his way to third. As Wainwright carried the bat, at least what was left of it, down to first base.
Very capable of helping himself, but you also remember, Tony knows that you always think in terms of Suppan as a 6-inning pitcher. Now, it doesn't mean he can't throw a complete game and throw a complete game shutout. He's done that in the past against the Cardinals. But right now, they got a scoring opportunity, but it's going to take a 2-out base hit.
So runners at first and third for Schumacher. And now that'll get the bullpen rolling for Milwaukee.
Yeah, Kendall taking plenty of time to get out there, allow the bullpen to get some activity. Remarkable. You mentioned that Ken Maka has taken over the reins here in Milwaukee. They got off to a slow start, but they've been playing the best baseball in the game with their record 17-5 since their 4-9 start. And with a new manager, sometimes it takes a while for that to happen, but they've done it quickly. Billy Castro, who's been with the Brewers for about 18 years, is their bullpen coach, now is their pitching coach.
Crowd of 43,382 here today. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. They say this guy, D. Felice, throws a cutter, and they say that right-handers just really struggle against him, and that he's been a terrific bridge to get to the 8th inning and then obviously get to Hoffman.
Well, he's 3-0 with an ERA just over 1 at 1.02, so they have some capable arms down that bullpen. And we talk about all the time, when a Cardinal starter gives you like 7 innings of work, how everything falls in place for the bullpen, and that's what's been happening for Milwaukee of late.
Two outs, first and third. Best opportunity of the day for the Cardinals. Schumacher is 0 for 3 today. He is grounded to short, grounded to first, and also grounded back to Suppan. Let's see if what Mark McGwire tells him pays off here. Not deviating from that one idea that you go into with a game plan against a pitcher.
Skip's hit in 8 of the last 9 games at a .455 clip coming in. Everybody wants to see what he does right here.
That's a strike. 1 ball, 1 strike. I asked him if McGwire ever gets in the cage with him. He said one time he wanted to do a tee drill, and there were other major leaguers around him. He said it was jaw-dropping to watch McGwire do this tee drill. So he probably hadn't picked up a bat in 8 years and still could hit.
You know, Mark has that dry sense of humor. And
diving stop and a force play at second takes the hit away. Hardy keeps it a 1-run Brewers lead. What an outstanding play from J.J. Hardy.
completes the third out, stranding 2 more runners. The Cardinals have stranded 7 on only 2 base hits. And Wainwright was a big part of that offense, but with 2 outs, they just couldn't get it done.
So a Hardy's prime cut from Corey Hart, the difference in this game. It's 1-0 Milwaukee on his home run.
An 0-2 pitch, an error in location has cost Wainwright to this point.
And Hart, a swing and a miss to start the 8th. Corey Hart, Bill Hall, and Jason Kendall. A much different looking Adam Wainwright here this afternoon. Thurston makes an error.
Still almost got him at first base, but nobody feels worse than that. The 4th error for Joe Thurston. And the leadoff man is on. Hit hard. You got to backhand that. He had time to square up and get in front of it. Tried to make the most of it and made it a close play, but that's tough when you get the leadoff man on infield error.
And here's Billy Hall, who is 0 for 2 with a pair of strikeouts. Let's see if they want to bunt here.
Down to the low end of the order, you would think that they would probably pinch hit for Suppan, so that helps increase that possibility.
For 2.
You should be able to.
Yeah, you would think so. Hall looking down to his third base coach. I mentioned they have a new pitching coach in Bill Castro.
Brad Fisher is their new third base coach.
Willie Randolph is a bench coach. Bill Swaim is back as their hitting coach. He finished up last year as their manager. He's been their bench coach, third base coach, interim manager, and now back as a hitting coach.
He's employed.
I guess he didn't burn any bridges, did he? They like him.
Ken Macha is a good choice. Always admired him. Has managed in the big leagues at Oakland and has gotten a team to the postseason before. Primary pitcher position was a catcher during his playing days.
Now, Ned Yost, a lot of people felt that he would stick with particular lineups or players a little bit too long.
Some people were remarking that Tony, what's wrong? And Tony had the same lineup as last night.
That was me. No. I was shocked to see that lineup. It was the same.
Maybe the first time all year, isn't it?
I was trying to think in writing that lineup down when he's done back-to-back games with the same lineup.
I don't think it's happened.
You know he's going to wind up, use probably 130 different lineups this year.
Apparently it happened one time on the road trip, but a rarity.
Showing bunt and takes a ball low, 2 balls, no strikes. This has been one of the hottest teams in baseball. Milwaukee coming in, having won 17 of the last 23 games.
Many times they've been doing it in coming from behind. Now, Billy Hall can't get together with his third base coach Brad Fisher on the signs. So ask for clarification.
See that Ken Macha, talking with the people of the Brewers, came in with no preconceived notions about any players. Just, hey, we're going to start from spring training, clean slate with everybody from day one.
He's kind of a, he's a non-flashy type guy. He's just, more of a scholarly, can't say grandfatherly, but he's a guy that's very, very fair, and he's not going to go out there and create problems. And I think he's going to observe his team. That's why I say for them to turn things around so quickly, it's a remarkable.
So it's an error and now a walk. By the way, if you're wondering about Ned Yost, he is out of baseball. Milwaukee owes him $1 million, so he's collected a paycheck. They said he's hunting, fishing, watching some NASCAR. He's a big NASCAR fan.
Right.
And he's going to sit this year out.
And our buddy Ted Simmons, who we spoke with, who was last year the bench coach, he's back with San Diego.
And at that point, he was scouting, correct?
Well, he was he kind of ran their, from St. Louis, he kind of ran their farm system and was, at times have been assistant to the general manager, but he had a high position in their minor league system in scouting. And I believe he's back, as a bench coach for Bud Black.
And now it's Jason Kendall. Remember, he was a former leadoff man when he was the Pirates. Very versatile. He could bunt and hit and run. Bunts here and bunts it foul for strike one.
Still runs well for a catcher.
That's amazing, too, considering all the wear and tear on his body and the gruesome ankle injury that he had.
I was thinking that word, gruesome. He started 149 games last year for Milwaukee.
How well did you know his dad?
Didn't know him that well. I mean, it played against him a little bit, but he was kind of the backup catcher for numerous different clubs, and spoke to him more as a coach in the big leagues.
And Jason is the first one to tell you. Looked like he offered at it. I'm going to say he pulled back and did not. So 1 ball, 1 strike. But Jason will be the first to tell you that he loves talking about his dad and the impact that his dad has had in the major leagues on him. And Jason would talk about growing up in the San Diego clubhouse, the old Jack Murphy Stadium.
Saw Dave McKay trying to give instruction to Albert how aggressive he is, but to be ready for pull back in that Butcher Boy. And now Adam really just having trouble throwing strike. Trying to elevate the ball there to get the pop up. And really caught a bad break with their first base umpire, Mark Wegner, not calling that one delivery a strike, as it looked like he stabbed at it.
You're thinking about their pinch hitters. They've only hit about 100 this year. And they have called up a young man that they feel is the future, probably at third base, Gamble, that is a big-time hitter in the minor leagues. Not a great fielder, but he can hit. And with the DH in play for them at the end of their road trip in Minnesota, they want to try to get him some at-bats. 2-2.
Khalil was out of position. There's a cardinal no-no of you throwing when a fielder is out of position. So he's trying to sneak back in, trying to look for a pickoff play. But Wainwright throws the ball with him out of position. And you saw where all of a sudden maybe Kendall sees that and he tries to swing, looking for the open hole at shortstop. If you're going to do that, you have to hit down on the ball.
2-2, a swing and a miss, and a strikeout of Kendall, and a big one there.
How big will that be? The inability to move the runners up 90 feet. And eventually the strikeout. Breaking ball, nice block by Molina. Counsell will hit. Chris Duffy's had success against Wainwright, and he's on that bench. But
Tony has Denny's Reyes loose and ready to go in the bullpen, and now a righty starts to throw. That's McClellan. Counsell off to a very fine start. The 38-year-old, it seems like he's been around forever, hitting .328, a home run, and 6 RBIs.
Second stint, at least, with Milwaukee, his hometown.
And Counsell hits it in the air out to center. Let's see the arm here of Rasmus. Hart will stay put at second. 2 big outs. We saw there in the at-bat by Counsell, not nearly as pronounced. They say that he's really brought down the hands. He used to have that funky stance, but it's not nearly as pronounced as it once was.
One of the most exaggerated stances in all of baseball, and extremely awkward. And maybe that's one of his adjustments as he's gotten a little older, and probably his reflexes and hand-eye coordination has slowed down a bit.
And now you have Weeks looking ahead for the Cardinals in the bottom of the 8th. Shane Robinson, Albert Pujols, and Chris Duncan.
I think Tony La Russa just likes the way that Adam is still throwing and trying to reward him with an opportunity for his team to come back.
And Suppan is in line for the victory if the bullpen can hold it.
We said the inability of Jason Kindle to move the runners up. They would have had an extra insurance run on the sacrifice fly if Kindle could have got the bunt down. Longest outing since last September, but this is the type of outing that you would expect from Wainwright to go 7, 8, 9 innings in a game.
Strike two.
This is when that mentality of his reliever mentality kind of kicks in right now. He's been a starter up until this jam, and then you're going on adrenaline right now, so give it all you've got. You don't conserve anything now. You just blow it out like a short inning reliever.
Pitch number 105 upcoming. No balls, 2 strikes with 2 outs and 2 runners on in a 1-0 Milwaukee lead.
One bad pitch on an 0-2 pitch is the difference in this ball game.
Got it. Big bats for the Cardinals coming up. Is brought to you by Budweiser, who thanks you for being a designated driver. And by Bank of America. Cardinals banking only at Bank of America. Our Chevrolet call to the bullpen. Here's D. Felice. We talked about him just moments ago.
The surprising thing about him is he's 32 years of age, and he made his first opening day roster this year. He's been unscored upon in 14 of his 16 previous outings. 3-0. You see that ERA just at 1. But for someone not to make their major league debut until you're 31 years of age, became the 3rd oldest player in franchise history to make his debut. There's your cutter there.
Yeah, not to say that he can't be beaten, but you've got in the 9th inning Trevor Hoffman. So if you're going to do it, this is the inning.
And Trevor Hoffman was not going to be available last night. He had pitched in 3 consecutive days. So the Milwaukee catches a break with the rain out last night.
For people that don't know what a cutter is, Al, or they're trying to figure out, we always say cutter. What is a cutter? And this guy's got a good one.
It's really, you throw it like a fastball, but it's a little bit off center. It's really kind of an old-fashioned slider. There's a slight break to it. It just really cuts. A good one usually has a little downward action, so you don't center the ball. But it looks like the fastball, but it has that slight movement to keep you off it.
just like that. Strikeout of Shane Robinson, and it brings in Pujols. If you're thinking about cutters, arguably the best that people have ever seen, Mariano Rivera. The fine closer of the Yankees and probable Hall of Famer.
But the last pitch you just saw, I mean, that's really much more break than a true cutter. It's more what you would say a slider. And your slider has become more of a slurve. It is again, but he just has that little movement. The more downward action you get, it just keeps you from centering the baseball.
1 ball, 1 strike.
But you can tell why he's a late bloomer. You know, he just doesn't have any, you know, it's nothing special. He doesn't have the great velocity, doesn't have this. And I'm sure there's a lot of people say, oh, well, he's effective at the minor league level, but he won't be at the big leagues. These guys are too good, but he's proven them wrong.
Here's a 1-1. Albert Pujols, left field off the end of the bat, and Braun is over to get it.
Just enough so you can't center it.
So 2 outs, and that big bat is retired. Looper there with Suppan, the 2 former Cardinals.
Mocker will now make a pitching change and bring in Stetter, his left-hander.
So DeFelice gets the important 2 outs, which includes Pujols. This is our Chevrolet call to the bullpen. Appearance, a record of 2-0, ERA that's just over 3, and opponents that you see there at the bottom of that graphic, they're only hitting 186 against him.
Situational left-hander, he drops down, and Tony's going to counter with Brian Barton hitting for Chris Duncan. Now, Tony believes that Barton is a low ball hitter. When you get the submariner, he's going to keep the ball in the lower part of the zone. So this is a matchup that Tony prefers. Very tough on the left-handed batters for that sub-200 average.
You can see why he would be so tough. Look at where he sets up on the pitching rubber, then he drops down. I mean, he's essentially, if you're a lefty, he'd be pitching
behind you.
Yeah, the ball coming from behind.
6'4", 212 from Indiana, went to Indiana State.
Little chopper towards third on a short hop. Bill Hall sends us to the ninth. Stetter gets Martin. Hardy, Braun fielder coming up. It's 1-0 Milwaukee.
Don't forget, coming up after the game on the post-game edition of U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live, Pat Paris and Jack Clark are live at Lumiere Place. They'll analyze today's game, including taking a look at the pitching matchup between Wainwright and Jeff Suppan. Also, we'll have Tony La Russa's post-game comments. It's coming up after the game, guys.
Jim, thanks. Here's Cal McClellan, and it's 2-0 on the batter, J.J. Hardy. Cardinals will have Molina, Rasmus, and Khalil Green due up in the bottom of the ninth. The numbers on Kyle this year, his 16th appearance.
Concerning that his walks, and now he's fallen behind 3-0 to the leadoff man. Denny's Reyes is warming up behind him in the bullpen.
4 straight and a walk. Cardinals watch Suppan give the Brewers 7 strong innings, and they watch their own Wainwright go 8. Pitchers duel here today.
Thrilled to death with Wainwright's performance. Unfortunately, can't reward him with a personal victory, but still a come from behind victory. But right now, you've got to go through the heart of their order, and that leadoff walk always spells trouble.
Here's Braun, and a strike. Ryan Braun today, the base hit to right. He also lined out to short and grounded out to Pujols. You're wondering, Pujols a 1-for-4 afternoon. That misses on the outside corner. 1 ball, 1 strike. Ryan Braun, a couple of years ago, was the Rookie of the Year. He's only 25, and the Brewers last season locked him up 8 years and $45 million. Looks like money well spent.
No doubt about that.
2 years ago, 34 home runs, 97 RBIs. Last year, 37 and 106.
I remember when his rookie year, and he didn't come up until late May, but as many runs as he drove in, he might have given up more runs with his play at third base. He allowed like 26 errors in roughly 2 months, or excuse me, 4 months of the season, missing 2 months. But since they moved him to left field, he did not make an error last season out there, and he hasn't made an error this year.
They feel that his arm out left is a plus arm.
Sure.
Used to be a third baseman, like you said, and he's got decent speed, gets okay jumps, and doesn't hurt them in the outfield one bit. The 2-2 pitch to Braun. 3-2. McClellan struggling here as he walked the first man and goes 3-2 on Braun, and this could be trouble right here on this pitch.
Runner there. You wonder if it's called the curveball. He's going to throw to first base.
Runner goes. And a ground ball to short. They're starting the runner to avoid the double play. Here's Fielder. And again, Reyes has been throwing in the pen. Molina looking into the Cardinal dugout to see if they're going to make the move.
So was Tony coming out. Fielder started to go, and then he saw it. Waited for Tony to come out of the dugout, so he started retreating. Then when he didn't do it right away, he started going to home plate, and then Tony popped out.
So Denny's Reyes comes in from the bullpen. McClellan a walk and a ground out. 1 out here in the ninth. 15th appearance. Opponents hitting .233, but the two lefties in the Cardinals bullpen, the lefty-lefty matchups, they've been very good.
They've been very good, and Reyes leads the staff in appearances. This will only be a one-batter appearance, you would assume, as he will try and get Fielder, and barring a line drive double play, Chris Perez will probably pop out and will face Mike Cameron, who's on deck.
So Fielder has struck out. He has walked and also grounded into a double play. And the first pitch is taken a little bit low and in.
For 5 when he's facing Reyes in the past.
And a ground ball hit to second. Thurston there to make the play.
Like Tony making sure that Chris Perez is ready in the bullpen. Get the affirmative to Dave Duncan and be a pitching change.
So Reyes gets that out. Off the bat of Prince Fielder, and Chris Perez comes in from the pen. Against him, came in with the bases loaded in the 10th Sunday at Cincinnati. Get the final out for his first save, his first since last September. And we saw him pitch an inning of work in the road series against Pittsburgh after that. And he'll come in with 2 outs, a runner at third, and Mike Cameron the hitter.
He was very impressive in that outing in Pittsburgh, and all he needs to get is 1 out here.
On the outside corner and a strike. Have you seen his slider be more effective this year as far as the arm angle and what they were trying to improve upon?
Not only have I seen the slider improve, but I've seen his fastball more consistent in the strike zone, making his pitches where he wants it to be.
Works on the first base side of the rubber, and the 0-1 pitch. There's the slider at 84, taken a little bit low. 1 ball, 1 strike as the Cubs lead Houston 4-0. That's in the bottom of the 8th.
Start off with a fastball for a strike, the slider ball 1, and they're going to go with the fastball down and away. Perfect, but doesn't get the call.
2-1.
Perfect, but doesn't get the call.
The first pitch was this pitch right here.
Watch the target. Right where he wants it. Now there's sometimes Molino sets up far outside, but that wasn't the case there. You have to get, as a pitcher, you have to get that call.
The 2-1.
Another very close pitch, and there's 2 in a row that I'm sure Molina is having conversation with Jeff Kellogg right now. Also, as a pitcher, though, you've got to sit there and say, okay, I'll deal with it. 3-1 slider.
And a walk.
Not the worst thing, Dan. You know, when you miss with a couple pitches that you think are your pitch and you fall behind the count. In that situation, you hate to see walks, but that situation is not the worst thing that could happen. Start off fresh with the next hitter.
Corey Hart 1 for 3 with his home run back in the second inning. Up and in.
He got behind on the slider, didn't have that arm angle at all. His arm dragging, his arm can't catch up.
You mentioned that Trevor Hoffman was unavailable for the Brewers last night, but he is set to go here this afternoon. Couldn't have been easy for him after 16 years to leave San Diego.
No, very difficult. You know, he's from Southern California, then to be there for so long. There's a pride factor, but you know, I think it was money wasn't the issue. I think they were ready to move on and anoint Heath Bell as their closer. It's probably the best thing for Trevor to kind of rededicate you know, you can't work any harder than he does, but change of scenery. Now he's got a purpose to where he's going to prove San Diego wrong and let them go.
The thing too is that he's got a chance to win here and probably not in San Diego.
No, that's the best motivation.
The 1-1 pitch to Hart. Now that's a strike.
Yeah, the other two were better. Now Hart, he's sitting there. I mean, that still to me is a very good pitch, but the others were better.
1-2.
Sure aren't going to get hurt there.
Runners at first and third. Let's see what Molina wants.
Fastball away. Just a little bit outside.
I'll tell you what, though, he is pounding that outside corner, and he's been very, very close.
Head in the count, goes out there and makes a pitch where it's either going to be a strike or right out there trying to get a hitter to expand. Doesn't get the call from Kellogg, and we're 2-2 now. Back to the slider.
And a pop-up. Robinson. Trevor Hoffman, the all-time save leader in Major League Baseball history, coming in a 1-0 game. Numbers: 9 games, 8 saves, a 0 ERA, and opponents hitting 103 against him.
Look at there. He's always had impeccable command, as he is not a walked a man yet. When he first started pitching, and we bears mentioning again that played 2 years. He signed as an infielder with Cincinnati. Played 2 years. Really didn't have much success. They recognized they had a very good arm from strong arm from the shortstop area, and Jim Lett was his manager, recommended he start pitching. Jim Lett is now a coach in the Milwaukee's minor league system, so they're reunited. Made the suggestion maybe you ought to go to the mound, and the rest is history, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And you saw how hard he's the difference in this game with that home run. This is Molina, a shortstop, as you mentioned, selected by the Reds, and then that was back in 1988. He was with the University of Arizona and led their team in hitting in that season. And these two have never faced. And it was at Single A Charleston, which then was a Cincinnati Reds minor league affiliate, that he changed.
And when he first started pitching, he had 4 outstanding pitches.
Molina, fly ball into right, to the wall, and it's caught.
4 outstanding pitches, kind of lost his fastball and perfected his changeup to the point where he almost exclusively throws changeups now. He had another 30-save season last year, and he had a couple steps on the warning track as it falls a little short. But Hoppin, the all-time save leader, he's had more 30-save seasons and 40-save seasons than anybody in the history of the game.
It was 1995. He pitched most of that season. He had a torn rotator cuff, and it was the year, though, that he developed this changeup. Having to deal with that torn rotator, he knew that he needed to develop another pitch to be effective the following season, and it was the changeup.
Not against the Cardinals. He's 19 for 20 in career save chances.
1-0 pitch. Rasmus. 1 ball, 1 strike. It was 1992. The Marlins took him in the expansion draft. Then there was a fire sale. San Diego picked him up midway through 1993. Then he was there for 16 years.
He is 41 years of age now, and has coming into this season a career 2.78 ERA.
Signed a 1-year, $6 million deal with Milwaukee. He did have that strained muscle on his right side in his rib cage in spring training. Started the season on the DL. Made his Milwaukee debut in late April.
Just throws that changeup at several different speeds. Great arm action on it. Some people wondered would he be a good fit with the Cardinals as maybe an elder statesman to kind of teach Mott and Perez. Cardinals felt like they had that guy in Franklin.
3-1 center field. Ooh, it dove quickly and Cameron made the catch. 2 outs. Let's take a look at our Budweiser player of the game, and it's the starter for the Milwaukee Brewers, the former Cardinal Jeff Suppan.
You can't argue with what Suppan did. 7 shutout innings, set the tone. Strikes out 2, walks 2, only gives up 6 hits. And here's former teammates that are doing battle.
Last time we saw the Cardinals lose 1-0 was 06 against the Brewers. And this should do it. Green grounds out, and the ball game goes to Milwaukee. A 1-2-3 ninth for Trevor Hoffman. He picks up his 9th save. He's perfect here in 2009. And the shirts are out. The jerseys untucked. And Milwaukee takes the game by the score of 1-0. Well played, well pitched here at Busch Stadium.